Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Joseph Sikora here back in New York City to announce to you that the rumors are true. Power Book 4 Force is dropping this fall.
Now the long-awaited news on Power Book 4 Force Season 3 has officially arrived, along with two first look images which we are going to run through in just a moment. But for those who aren't on social media, Joseph Sikora was teasing us a few days ago over on X/Twitter, and he did deliver. He dropped the news that Force Season 3 will be returning this fall. So it could be any time between September and December. I guess it really would be quite nice to have an exact date, because the last time they said this winter, which was for Raising Kanan Season 4, it ended up being right at the back end of winter, and we didn't get any news until quite late. So in terms of an actual release date, nobody knows, but it will be at some point between September and December. Hopefully it is September. I have also thought about whether they'd split the season in 2 5s, only because they did do it with Ghost Season 4. I mean, I hope not. I wasn't the biggest fan of the 5 and 5 split, but it definitely can't be ruled out based on what they've done before. We've also got to take into consideration, this isn't the end of Tommy Egan's journey. It may be the end of this particular chapter, but it's not the end of his story arc. Again, we're going to come back around to that right at the end when we discuss a few theories around Tariq St. Patrick, but that's the release date. For Season 3 is returning this year, this fall. Tommy Egan will be back, and we're going to see how it all unfolds for the final chapter in Chicago. With that being said, let's take a look at these two exclusive images. Now, we've got Tommy standing in a building with potentially his crew behind him, black gloves on, and we all know what that means. There's going to be a hell of a lot of action this season. That's one thing we can guarantee when it comes to a Tommy Egan show: guns, bullets, and violence. But there was a big shift and a big difference in Force Season 2 compared to Season 1. Gary Lennon came on board as the new showrunner, turned the show around because Season 1 really didn't feel like a Tommy Egan show. It didn't quite feel like Power. There were definitely power elements, but with the whole Dahlia storyline, it just didn't quite fit the vibe for Chicago, for Tommy Egan, and what should have been the natural continuation of Power. However, if you told me Tariq, Braden, or the Tejadas came up with Dahlia in Power Book 2 Ghost, it probably would have been a more fitting storyline for Book 2 Ghost. So Gary Lennon has changed a lot. He's brought a lot more depth to Tommy Egan's character, tapping into this relationship with Kay Egan, his backstory, his past mistakes, and also his relationship with Holly Weaver. This was one of my favourite scenes from Season 2. So Tommy's a lot more than just putting on these black gloves, the black hoodie, and I'm sure that is something that will continue in Season 3. Now we've also got him squared up face to face with Miguel Garcia. These two are constantly going to be in a back-end force in Season 3. That's one thing we can guarantee for sure. And at the centre of the storm is, of course, Maria Garcia.
Is Tommy gonna get Maria back? What's gonna happen with Miguel? How about Jannard? How about Vic? Where did Diamond's loyalties really lie? I know you got a million questions, but there's only one answer. Everything's gotta burn.
One of the questions Joseph Sikora raised when he announced this news was, will Tommy Egan get Maria back? And it is a good question. I do think eventually he will, but it's going to be a really difficult journey, because he's going to have to play ball under Shay, who mentioned he wants Miguel Garcia and Tommy to basically play nice in the streets. But how I mentioned before, there's a lot more to Tommy Egan's character than just violence, guns, and death. He's also a character who's very big on love. I mean, nothing gets between him and the women that he loves, apart from Holly when she put the Jamaicans on Ghost. Now, quite some time ago, because it's been a long time since we've seen Tommy Egan in action, I did create a mega thread back on X, and I created a little theory right towards the end, around how I wouldn't be surprised if Maria ends up being pregnant when Tommy does eventually find his way back to her. I think the Holly Weaver hallucination was definitely telling. I think a few conversations with Maria was also telling, and it also rhymes with what they've been doing over the last few seasons across the Power universe. I mentioned what would make Tommy think about leaving the game or even just contemplate it just for a second. I do think it's him having a baby with Maria, having a family of his own. And normally I would say this is a wildcard prediction, but I really don't believe this one is. I think based on history, it could end up being right bang on the money come for Season 3. So that is a prediction I am going to hold. I'm sure we'll probably discuss it closer to the time, and maybe in the summer in the build up to for Season 3. So it definitely is a topic we'll pick up a bit later on. But what about his war with Miguel Garcia? I think there can only be one winner. But I really do think Tommy's going to have his hands full, because I do think there's going to come a time where those guys around him, around the CBI, may not be so loyal to him. Joseph Sikora, when he dropped this announcement, he mentioned, what about Jannard? Where does Diamond's loyalties lie? I think when it comes to the two brothers, especially Jannard, we already know he's plotting in the background with Shanti. With Diamond, there is also a bit of discontent here. Throughout season 2, we saw Tommy making a lot of moves, making a lot of decisions without Diamond say so. Something Ghost used to do with Tommy back in Power. I do think eventually you're going to have Diamond making a choice. Does his loyalties lie with Tommy, or will it lie with his brother Jannard? The problem is, Shanti definitely complicates this entire dynamic, because she's just waiting and also creating chaos so she can swoop in, take both Tommy and Diamond out, and then take over the CBI. She said it herself in season 2, they're just waiting for them to build their organization. They're waiting for them to fatten up the pig before they swoop in and take it. But will Jannard let her do that behind Diamond's back? Again, that's another question. And an early prediction from me in regards to that particular situation, I do think Jannard will be the one to take out Shanti to potentially save Diamond. After the death of their pops, I do think their relationship is going to be somewhat different. And I do think Gary Lennon's already teased in one of his interviews that he gave post season 2. One of the themes for season 3 is going to be blood is thicker than water. So I do think that definitely gives us a clue in terms of the direction of Jannard and Diamond's relationship. But what about Vic? Now, Vic is another character who Joseph Sikora did mention in his announcement, and I've definitely got mixed feelings when it comes to Vic, and I definitely think Tommy does too. You put yourself in Tommy's shoes before he found out Vic was a snitch. He probably saw a lot of himself in Vic. Both of them killed their fathers. Both of them have lost loved ones. They've definitely got a few things in common. But a snitch is a snitch. And it is going to be interesting to see where they take this one. Because I definitely can't call this one at this moment. Tommy wants to use him. Diamond wants to smoke him. Stacey Marks needs to save him. So which one is it going to be? Now, what about his sister, Claudia Flynn? Interestingly, this is one character who Joseph Sikora didn't mention. We know towards the end she was stabbed by one of Shanti's cousins, but they left this one open to make us ask this exact question we're about to ask. Is Claudia Flynn really dead? Again, going on history, we can never say for sure, but I would like to think she is. She was the one who was behind Liliana's death. She was doing way too much. She set up Walter Flynn and even Vic. So does she deserve to survive? Definitely not. And my early thoughts are, she probably won't. Also because it is the final season of Force, what do they even do with her character if she did survive? How would she be any help to someone like Stacey Marks? So I do think she is one who hopefully is confirmed dead in episode 1. But let's talk about Tariq St. Patrick. Now we know this is the end for Tommy Egan in Chicago. It's already been teased this is his final chapter. You add in the phone call Tariq received in the after end credit scene of Go Season 4. You have to ask the question, did Tommy call Tariq? I do think he did, and I do think we'll still see Tariq pop up in Force Season 3, and that could be the setup of this new Power show, which they haven't announced just yet. Remember, last year around March or April, they dropped a lot of news, and one of them was how Gary Lennon signed a new deal to work on bringing new Power shows to the screen. So, will it be a Tariq and Tommy show? I do think that is a common theory at this moment in time, but I think we'll only know for certain once Force Season 3 comes to its conclusion, or in and around that particular time. They're not going to want to spoil the announcement or ruin it in any way by announcing it beforehand, because then that would probably give away what's going to happen at the end of Force Season 3. But I do think both of Tariq and Tommy's journeys are far from over, and I personally can see a scenario where they do merge them into one show. Now, which city that's in, that's a different question entirely. It probably won't be Chicago, that's already been teased. Tommy's also dead in New York, and he's already kind of been there and done that. Does he really want to come back to the Big Apple? So which city is he going to be in? Will it be LA? We know Tommy was always supposed to head there after Power to go and work with Rodolfo. Let's see. That's also another big question heading into Season 3 of Force. What's next for Tariq, not just for Tommy Egan? Was Tommy on the other end of this phone, and does it set up a new Tommy and Tariq show come the end of Force Season 3? But that's a breakdown of where we are with Force Season 3, some general updates, and the news that Force Season 3 will be dropping this fall. In terms of the official release date, I do suspect that will most likely come when they drop the official teaser. That most likely will probably come this summer. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I know you guys can't wait to see how this unfolds for Tommy in Chicago, and also what they set up next. It really is going to be an interesting season, especially if Tommy was the one who called Tariq. So drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.